Lisa and I just replaced one of the most foundational devices in our smart home, our thermostat. And this is a big change in a home. A lot of smart home devices do have a learning curve, but this learning curve isn't going to cost you a slight annoyance like a light turning on when it's not supposed to. This could cost you 90 degrees upstairs on a hot day. So today, we are setting expectations on converting from the Nest 3rd Gen Learning Thermostat to the Ecobee Premium.
I'm Patrick Hunt, and I want you to like smart home tech as much as I do. Real solutions with Matter, Apple Home, and a little creativity. Weekly, I'll show you how small upgrades can make a big difference. Welcome.
Initially, when making this leap, my one priority was to just have Matter integration, or at least HomeKit compatibility. Our Nest thermostat has been living in Homebridge since January, and it hasn't always been stable. So my instinct was to actually just upgrade to the Nest 4th Gen Learning Thermostat, which does have Matter integration. But the more I researched, the more I found our house might benefit from a different brand altogether. We have several temperature sensors throughout the house, and those are compatible with the Nest 4th Gen thermostat, but they aren't Matter compatible. So to integrate their functionality into Apple Home, it would require Homebridge again, and I'm really trying to move away from that. With our 3rd Gen Nest, we were using the Nest app. With the 4th Gen Nest, we would have to use the Google Home app. And I felt that that was kind of bifurcating our smart home in a way between Google and Apple Home. Although the thermostat itself would integrate into Apple Home via Matter, that extra functionality would have to happen in Google Home. Honestly, when looking at Ecobee in the past, I was really turned off by the one device trying to do everything, like the doorbell and the security system as well. But seeing that had a lot of the features that I was looking for, including those smart sensors, which are more powerful than the Nest temperature sensors, we took the leap. And it's important to note here that I was aware that my biggest hurdle would be setting expectations for myself and setting expectations for Lisa, who is usually along for the ride with these smart home changes. But messing up the thermostat in the middle of summer could really heat up the house, both physically and metaphorically. So how does the Ecobee Premium actually differ from the 3rd Gen Nest? I'm gonna start with the biggest difference that we found in our home and kind of work my way backward. And that's the way that the temperature sensors behaved. One feature that we really liked in the Nest is that you could change the primary temperature sensor that the thermostat was heating or cooling based on. So if we wanted the upstairs to be 72 degrees, we would just go into the app and tap the upstairs temperature sensor, making it the primary, and the thermostat would run the AC to cool the upstairs to 72 degrees, and every other room in the house just cools to whatever it cools to, and the basement typically becomes the Arctic. But we liked it because there was no question of how it was working. The upstairs was the primary, the main level was the primary, whichever one we wanted. This also helps if your thermostat was installed in direct sunlight. Theoretically, you could put a temperature sensor 5 feet away in the shade, and you would get a more accurate reading of the temperature in that room for your thermostat. This is not how the Ecobee sensors work, at least not as conveniently. These smart sensors are also occupancy sensors, and with the Follow Me feature turned on, the thermostat knows where everyone is in the house, ideally where the sensors are, and then it heats or cools the house based on an average across the temperatures in those rooms. And the average isn't just an average of the temperatures. It's weighted differently based on the occupancy. So more weight to a room that has been occupied longer than if you were just, say, passing through a room or going in and out. The issue being, we have a smart sensor in our bedroom, not in the bathroom, or at one point the nursery or Lisa's office. Having put it in the upstairs hallway to try to capture everywhere may not have shown consistent occupancy or may have shown a false positive from movement at the bottom of the stairs. So you really do need a ton of these smart sensors in order for the Follow Me feature to be accurate. And it has been inaccurate on several occasions, resulting in, hey, it's extremely hot upstairs. Why isn't it being included in the average? Well, the upstairs occupants weren't in the bedroom where the smart sensor is. You can turn off the Follow Me feature, and then the Ecobee just uses every sensor in the average, but your warmest rooms are still going to be above your thermostat setting, and your coldest rooms are still going to be below your thermostat setting. To get you closer to that Nest behavior, you can create what's called a comfort setting, and then only include one sensor in that comfort setting and then put it into your schedule. So your house will only base the temperature off of that one sensor. Or you could use no sensors at all. That's also an option. To me, this is one of the biggest differences and one that Nest users are really gonna have to get used to. What would be great is if you could just tap on the room sensor in the app and manually force it to be included in the average. Like, hey, I know nobody is in here, but this room needs to be more comfortable soon. This is achievable through a manual hold of a comfort setting, which I'll talk more about later, but it's really about reframing how you understand the behavior of the thermostat. So what about the AI or the learning aspect of the Ecobee thermostat? I don't know about you, but that Nest Learning feature got turned off within the first month of having that thermostat. We had it for 5 years, and I never felt that I could really trust the thermostat to do what we wanted it to do when we wanted it to do it. On the Ecobee, it's less about learning and more about setting your own schedule. The only times the Ecobee changes the temperature on me to something that I didn't preset is through Eco Plus. And Eco Plus is a program that you can join through your energy provider to get like a $45 gift card at the end of the year, but it'll change the temperature to like 77 degrees on a 90-degree day. And after 3 days of opting into this, we have decided to opt out because it is just not worth it. Building on the comfort settings and schedule that I mentioned earlier, if you really wanted to make the Follow Me feature work, you could create a comfort setting for home during the daytime, a comfort setting for sleeping, which maybe lowers the temperature at nighttime, and then a comfort setting for away, so the thermostat isn't running unnecessarily while all of the rooms are unoccupied. A good way to think about the Ecobee comfort settings and schedule. The comfort settings are scenes in Apple Home, and schedule is a time of day automation. Speaking of Apple Home, these sensors do integrate into Apple Home, but what I found very quickly is that any temperature automations that I create in Apple Home will conflict with the comfort settings that I've created in the Ecobee app. So I decided I don't want to mess with these yet. They are still occupancy sensors though, so there are other automations unrelated to the temperature that you can create using these sensors. Some other key differences: I actually liked the simplicity of the Nest interface. I liked the dial, which you could turn or press to change settings. The Ecobee is a more traditional touchscreen, and the Nest app had some features more easily accessible where the Ecobee app might require some hunting. A good example being to just turn the fan on. In the Nest app, it was 2 taps. In the Ecobee app, it's 4 or 5 taps. And I can't really speak to the Google Home app. The motion sensor on the Nest was more sensitive and showed additional information at a glance much faster than the Ecobee does. And I liked the Nest being blue for cool and orange for heat or red for stage 2 heating. So what about how the house actually feels? Well, there isn't a whole lot a thermostat can do for a single system 3-level house. The upstairs will always run warmer, and the basement will always run cooler. Well, one day recently when I was home alone, working in the basement, I had the Follow Me feature turned on. I realized I wasn't freezing cold. I checked the temperature and it was set to 70 degrees on a very hot day. And the basement was, in fact, 70 degrees. But what did this mean for upstairs? 77 degrees. The Follow Me feature worked like a charm, but I had to be home alone to see the real benefits of it. The Nest could have done this for me by manually setting the basement as the primary temperature sensor and then setting the temperature to 70 degrees. But I would never set the basement as the primary temperature sensor. I am using one non-thermostat related additional feature, and that is the Siri integration. And I talked about this a little bit on my recent AirPlay episode. The Ecobee does have a built-in AirPlay speaker, but it sucks, and I've never set it up, and I won't. But I kind of like the idea of having an available Siri in earshot on the main level, and it's not necessarily a HomePod that I would have to find a good home for. I only use the Siri for commands, and I'll have it play music to other AirPlay speakers, but for me, this is such an overlooked feature of the Ecobee. And lastly, during installation, your RH wire doesn't go into RH on the Ecobee, it goes into RC, and the Ecobee handles that power internally. The Ecobee Premium package actually comes with a smart sensor, but if you're a Costco member, you can get an additional smart sensor in the package for the exact same price. We've been living with the Ecobee for about a month now, and there have been a few occasions where a room is particularly uncomfortable due to a thermostat setting. The Follow Me feature is currently off, but we'll try again in the future. And we do have comfort settings on a daily schedule, but I still find myself manually changing the temperature in the house throughout the day. And I'm still rewiring my brain to accept the differences. And at that point, when I do, I genuinely think the Ecobee is going to be much better for our home than the Nest ever was. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.